We're going to talk for a few minutes about the process of addiction. I wrote a whole chapter in the book about addiction and the idea of always feeling the need to feel different than you feel right now. Addiction can show up in lots of different ways. Food, it can show up in sex, it can show up in drugs, alcohol, overworking, underworking, watching too much television. Obviously, some of these have bigger ramifications than others as far as health and financial implications, but they're all addictions. And what happens with addictions is it keeps us from being ourselves. We are trying to find some kind of a comfort outside of ourselves. We're trying to find something outside of us that goes inside and allows us to feel better. And that takes place through brain chemistry. Addictions stir up a neurochemical reaction in our body that makes us temporarily feel better. It doesn't make us feel better long term. That's why we have to keep going back to that behavior or substance to keep getting that good feeling. So addictions are this ongoing self-creating cycle that over time always get worse. They never get better. We always increase our addictive patterns until we take some kind of constructive action to stop that pattern. If it's a minor addiction, you can seek help yourself. Sometimes when it gets really severe, people have to do an intervention for you and bring it to your awareness, put you in a safe environment for a period of time, and allow you to develop new patterns, new ways of living life that excludes that prior addiction. And all of this is extremely miserable for anybody who's gone through it. Chadwell Center for Health, what we do is we look at those patterns from a very holistic standpoint. We get outside the box and we find out what do we need to do in order to help this person overcome that problem. What's their diet like? What's their nutrition like? What's the toxicity in their body like? What are their prior childhood experiences? What are their current relationship experiences? What's that whole totality that's going on in that individual that's feeding and supporting this addictive cycle? And then more importantly, how do we shift that? How do we bring that around in a way that supports a non-addictive lifestyle, that supports a way for us to live without addictive patterns? And it's not that it's easy, but it's something that can be accomplished. The most important thing is you have to be willing to ask for help. That requires humility. It also requires that you honestly look at what's going on. Part of every addictive pattern is that it works very hard in our lives to stay hidden. The first thing people do when they develop addiction is figure out how to hide that addictive behavior, whether it's eating too much or binge eating or drinking and hiding how much they drink. All of those things. The second principle of every addiction is how do I hide this so people don't know? And that's where all the shame and the frustration and the guilt comes in. So the first step is, if you find that and if you're willing to be honest with yourself, is you got to tell somebody. You got to seek some kind of help. There's organizations, there's 12-step groups, there's doctors, there's clinics like mine, they're all over the place that deal with this on a daily basis. Most of them are led by, or at least people who have already gone through some recovery themselves. So they know what people are going through. They have that compassion, they have that understanding, they have that deep ability and insightful ability to find out what's really going on. Often people who are addicted can say one thing and mean something completely different. They will lie when they don't want to. They will lie to other people even though it hurts other people. Those are all components of addictive lifestyle, and it can be changed. And so my message for anybody who's struggling with this is find a safe place where you can tell the truth. It starts right there. After that, none of us can break addictive cycles on our own. I just have never found it possible in my own life. I don't really see it with severe addictions in other people's life. We need help. We need that outside reference point that lets us know we're not crazy, that there is hope, that other people have gone through this and have succeeded. And I think when we first just become willing to acknowledge the problem, when we become willing to seek some kind of help, and at least at some level are willing to change, that's when the beauty of it takes place. That's when addiction starts to be something you can overcome. And as you overcome that, you'll just be amazed at how fantastic your life can be. Addiction drains us. It keeps us in the dark. It keeps us hidden. It keeps our personality from developing. It keeps us from having good relationships with other people. So by breaking that addiction, you start this whole beautiful progression of how your life can improve, how good it can be, both in relationships, in your health, in your finances. And I would just encourage anybody who's afraid and is suffering from any of these problems to reach out and ask for help.